Chris.
Yes, that was me. You nailed it.
You got it.
We're live streaming.
Live from BMR.
Are we live?
Live from Uxbridge.
Is it live or is it Memorex?
I mean, this is being recorded live.
Like we're on TV right now? Like if I change the channel to channel, see then it's not live.
it's
Lied
not
to
live.
me.
It's live to tape.
Live to
okay.
tape.
All right.
Live to hard drive.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're talking to the hard drive.
Oh, now we're talking dirty. That's not cool.
All right, so we're
right.
recording whenever you're ready to go.
Yeah, let's
right.
get started.
So,
New chapter.
yeah, this is a new chapter. Where's my lead in? I forgot almost how to do this. It's
Where
been
are
like
we
3
anyway?
months.
Where are we, by the way?
We are aboard the mothership.
We are aboard the mothership, yes. We are flying somewhere through the galaxy, far, far away from all of you plebeians.
We're actually in the basement of Great Stories.
No, this is the basement of Great Stories, that's true. Anyway,
Yeah,
so here we are, 2019 edition of Comic Shop Talk. Welcome back. Well, welcome back, Ken.
Welcome back. Hey, it's good to see you guys.
Welcome back, Tyler.
welcome back, Chris.
Yeah, no need for introductions because I just made them. Oh, I'm Chris. Sorry.
Did I say Chris?
I did forget somebody. Oh, you did. Thank you
said
very
Chris,
much.
yeah.
What a gentleman. Anyway, by the way, it's rude to wear your hat at the dinner table.
Yeah, well, I'm going bald, so.
Anyway,
Dude,
so
find that out. We can have a whole other show about that.
even Thor loses hair sometimes. It's okay. It's a stressful job being an Avenger. Anyway, so we are back. It's 2019. This is our first shoot. It is March 3rd.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
that
yes,
right?
it is.
Didn't look at my calendar today. So here we are, first time, and the reason why the setting seems different to everyone is because we have moved our shop where we used to shoot, and so we've decided to move into Uxbridge Public Access Studios. Barry Giles, friend of the shop, friend of ours, has graciously come tonight to help us out, work through all this technology that we have before us. And we're also
and furniture.
Yeah,
And furniture.
This is new.
This is nice.
we're working on our
So
tans,
this is
by
an
the way,
actual
for a cruise. We're going to take a Great Stories cruise, and we have to work on our tans.
Yeah, that's all.
Actually, that's not happening, but
I'm gonna bring my sunglasses in next week.
What's
Yeah.
brighter, the lights
We
or
weren't
the
ready for
lights?
this.
The reflections kill
we
me.
weren't ready for the lights. So obviously, a lot of higher production quality. So hopefully it'll translate to you all when you're watching this. But we do have some stuff to actually talk about aside from our new surroundings. And so let's just get right into it. We have what's our first topic, Ken?
I think we'll start off with Marvel, and
Marvel.
there's a new maxi series they're putting out. It's Avengers No Road Home. This is the indirect follow-up to last year's amazing Avengers No Surrender.
Yep.
It's the same creative team that did No Surrender. It's
Yes.
the writing trio of was it Al Ewing, Jim Zub, and Mark Waid.
Yes.
That is an all-star team
That
of
is
writers.
an all-star team.
Yeah, they're doing
Yep.
great.
Yep.
Great work.
So
So just as a little background, I think we all remember the No Surrender storyline. There was
Yeah,
the
all of it.
mysterious character Voyager who came in, tricked the Avengers into thinking that she had been an Avenger all the time, but
Yes.
at the same time, it was just a ploy to serve as a setup for the game between the Game Master and the Challenger.
Right.
And they were taking different Avengers, and they had to go find these different pyramids to keep the world from just basically tearing apart. It was
Right.
super cool. And Voyager's back, the team's back, the whole band's
Yep.
back.
and the weekly format is back.
Yeah.
And the weekly format's back, which is, I hate having to pay, and especially for the first issue was $5. It's a lot for
That's pricey.
for week to week.
Yep.
Yeah.
The subsequent titles, I believe, are $3.99.
Yes, they are.
So
Yeah.
it's not as hard on the wallet, but the quality's really good, and it does help keep the storyline.
It
flowing.
advances. You're not having to constantly go back to your old issues and what happened.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a nice thing.
So what did happen?
Things.
Well,
all
things
sorts
happened.
of things.
All sorts of things. All
Darkness.
sorts of bad things happen.
Darkness
to,
happened.
Yes,
Dark
darkness.
things happen.
Yeah.
We have a new character, the bad guy that was revealed for this. She's directly related to Hercules, who plays a pivotal role as one of the Avengers in this story.
Should we say her name?
I think
is
so.
that-
I
heard
feel
it's a
like
bad idea.
we just
Cat's
kind
out
of
of the
dropped.
bag, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we want to.
It is really bright in here. Actually, we could do for some darkness.
So a gimmick of
That's
the
not applicable right now.
a gimmick of the story is that it is the goddess of night, the mother of night,
The mother of night, yes.
Nyx, from the
Nyx.
Greek mythology.
Yes.
Correct.
And
Basically, she's
the
been sealed
reference-
away for like thousands
Yeah.
of years by Zeus and
Yep.
the rest of the crowd up in Olympus.
It almost sounds like the last Thor movie.
A little bit.
Ragnarok?
Yeah.
Isn't it kind of like, you know,
It's kind of on the nose, but
Hela?
maybe.
You know,
maybe.
Come on, Ken.
Well,
Don't let me down here. Come on.
all I remember from Ragnarok was like Hulk fighting in the Coliseum.
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
What does this have to do with
Well,
with
it-
the
It's, you know,
does say, like-
the badass sister basically comes back to take over, and
Yeah.
she's really, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
you
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah, all right, there's a parallel there.
yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Okay.
But it's not Hela.
Yeah.
It's not Hela.
The joke that we were making is that by saying her name, you can summon her directly to where you are, which played quite an interesting twist at the very end of the first issue. So that was kind of cool the way that she introduced herself.
She shows up and
Scarlet
just like has her
Witch-
hand right through Scarlet Witch's face.
Says
pretty nasty.
her name
Yeah.
right after who was it? It was Hercules was talking to his dying sister,
I forget her name now. Something.
Yeah.
Greek goddess of warriors or something like that.
Artemis?
No,
Oh. Artemis. Oh.
Athena.
Athena. Thank you.
you.
There we go.
Oh, gosh. Our
Failed
mythology
to
is
save.
like, we need
Yeah,
to
right?
brush up.
Well, I kept wanting to say
wanted to
Artemis,
say Artemis,
but
but-
that's not true. So yeah, he's talking with Athena, and she says, "No, don't say her name to Hercules." And then, of course, not even like seconds later, Scarlet Witch is like, "Oh yeah, you're talking about Nyx, the goddess of
The Queen
night."
of Dark. The Queen
And
of
then
Night.
like last panel, boom, she's standing there and she's like, "Yeah, you should have listened to your sister was right. You should not have said my name." And she's got her hand like right through Scarlet Witch's face. It was kind of a
Yeah.
cool entrance.
It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, it was good.
So,
I enjoyed that.
so in the first issue, it's revealed that Olympus has basically been
Completely wiped out.
Everyone's
completely
murdered.
wiped out,
Yep.
torn asunder, and yeah, it was pretty epic actually. And what happens as we progress into issue number 2?
So by the second issue, you know, basically Voyager is where we found her last time at the end of No Surrender. She's basically watching over the Challenger and kind of keeping an eye on what's going on in Earth. And she's seeing all this happening, so she knows what's about to go down. And she realizes that she can no longer just stand by idly. She actually goes out, assembles the Avengers, and brings them to, you know, take on Nyx and her, I guess her kids. Are they her offspring? She fights with a bunch of these like, you know, they look like she almost refers to them like they look like family members.
Yeah.
There's like these twins, and then there's that really creepy lizard amphibian thing
Yep.
that would like, you know,
Offspring
affect
of
people's
night, yeah.
minds. So the Avengers have to go up against them, and they get their butts kicked pretty roundly.
Yes.
The beauty of the issue too was the narration, right? It was being narrated throughout by Hawkeye,
Yep.
and he does this great monologue about like how does Hawkeye stand shoulder to shoulder with these other Avengers? You're talking about, you know, gods and like, you know, really mythical people, and here's a guy that shoots arrows.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, took
Which,
down
to be
the Hulk,
fair,
right?
has kind of been like since the very beginning, since Avengers, like in the cinematic universe.
It's always been a joke.
You know, people were starting to catch on with the Marvel bandwagon. Are like, what's like we get Natasha Romanoff. She's an assassin. She's very skillful. But then you got this guy that's got a bow and arrow, and they make nods to it too, and it's great. But it's nice to see they're continuing to make nods to that very fact, even in the comics.
So what you're saying is that Hawkeye is basically the Aquaman of the Marvel Universe?
No, not even so, because like Aquaman at least has powers.
That's
you know?
true.
He's just basically like the luckiest guy in the world. You know, he basically
Kind of, yeah.
he's just out there blindly doing what he can. He doesn't think about it.
Yep.
He just does, and then assumes that things are just going to work out. But this mentality comes back and it kind of bites him a little bit in two ways, right? First, he loses something pretty major. He loses his right thumb.
Yes.
Which, you could probably still shoot a bow and arrow with that thumb. He's going to be a bit more awkward fumbling with it.
Yep.
But the other thing he did was he shot Bruce Banner in the brain to try to kill him.
That's right.
Yeah.
And even though Bruce, he basically asked him to do this, the Immortal Hulk, who's back and also part of this story arc, he's not at all too happy about this arrangement. He clearly wasn't brought in on these discussions.
Tells him outright, like, oh yeah, no, come along, but don't find yourself alone with me.
And then the second issue, we see him alone with
Yep.
Hulk, and things are about to get squared.
Yep.
Excited to see how that's going to unfold.
It's really fun.
Is
It's a really fun book.
Is he gonna put the differences aside and work with him, or is he gonna follow through with his threat?
I think we find out by issue 3 that it was headed off. That little confrontation was headed off by a certain furry friend. Isn't that correct? That was Rocket.
Yep.
Rocket awakens from his. He's on the table basically after the Avengers were soundly thrashed.
Yep.
And he's almost having like these like flashbacks to like experimentations. It almost felt like it was Rocket Raccoon's origin.
It's like an origin
almost.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Agreed.
it felt like to me. And but he snaps out of it, and he basically takes out the thing that's like trying to commit surgery on him or whatever, and he trashes that thing, and then he goes.
Surgery?
I don't know, commits surgery, commits an act of
An act of surgery.
perform surgery.
Probably sounds-
That would be a much better adjective.
Sounds like it's
to
wrong. It seems
apply
like
to the,
it sounds like illegal surgery.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it does.
he's stealing
actually.
kidneys.
Black market surgery. Yeah.
Committing a black market surgery.
But so anyway, he basically inserts himself into this confrontation between Hulk and Hawkeye. Right as things are about to get ugly, and then all of a sudden it's like they're living this. They're almost in a dream state, right? That's how they paint the issue or this opening episode.
Yep.
But then Rocket's smart enough to know why am I having the same bad dream he's having?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Oh wait, we're being fooled here. And but bottom line is that kind of unites the group against their new foe. And who is the new foe? Or he's not really a foe.
Are we still talking about NYX?
We're talking about No Road Home.
Right.
So the
Did I miss something?
Did
Issue
I miss
3?
something? Issue 3 hasn't come out yet.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, do I have a insider view?
I think you
Well,
did.
hopefully this isn't going to come out for a couple weeks, so
Yeah,
you should be
I mean,
safe.
You might have already read it
No.
by this point, but yeah.
Oh wait, did issue?
So-
I'm only 2 issues in, so maybe there's something third
issue 3.
happened.
Issue 3 came out. So I guess for the sake of the discussion, we won't go that far with the discussion. But yes,
a
there's
new
a
bad
little
guy.
bit more to this. There's a little bit more to this. But the bottom line is that No Road Home is stacking up to be just as solid as No Surrender, and awesome format for comic fans, being a weekly book. And,
Awesome artwork.
Awesome artwork.
On point.
So where does that lead us next?
I think that's going to take us into Marvel's next event.
Yes.
So we're going to talk event. It's been a while since we actually had an event, which is, well...
Because
unless
Marvel
you-
promised us they wouldn't have an event for quite a long time.
They promised us not a big multi-title spanning
Yeah.
event, because we just had Infinity Wars, right?
Yeah.
That I'm not reading it.
Right. Infinity Wars didn't interest me so much,
It's-
but
Kind of a cop on the movie coming out.
Right. It felt like something
Yeah.
like,
It's a
hey,
little bit
we
of a grab.
have an Infinity War movie coming out, so let's put a comic out that
yep.
we
Yeah.
can market to.
One would say it's not inspired
No.
to be an original piece.
No, but at the same time, it also didn't. It wasn't one of those events that crossed over into other titles,
Correct.
Yeah.
The Daredevil and Punisher weren't being affected by the events that were going on in
So
Infinity
it
War.
wasn't
right.
it wasn't a universe-wide event.
No.
And that's
No,
We
their
were talking
last
about-
universe-wide event was the Secret Empire,
Which-
and that's why Marvel. I think I heard some feedback from fans that we need a break from the like having to go across and buy all these titles that we normally don't buy.
Because they had
You
just
know,
before then
there
it was
a
like
little bit of
Civil War.
weariness.
There was Civil War 3 that came out right before that too.
Two.
Civil War 2 that came out right before that, and right before that they had Secret Empire. So like we were coming off back to back to back major
Secret Wars, yes, that's right.
events.
That's right.
And none
Yep.
of them really felt. I mean, Secret Wars did because it soft rebooted the entire universe
it did.
afterwards.
Yep.
But none of them really felt like any real weight because it never was really actually built up
Well,
properly.
I felt like Secret Empire was going to do a lot more than it did.
Same.
It definitely had a lot of turns that had. There was a lot of conversation going on, and then it just didn't conclude in a satisfactory way.
I felt like the lead into it and the conclusion of it both felt like it was just very rushed. Like there was, I'm sure you guys all remember the controversy when Captain America 1 came out and had the final page of him saying "Hail Hydra."
Yeah.
Everyone just
Yes.
lost their shit.
Oh yeah.
I liked it.
Nick Spencer made a lot of enemies. that day.
Yeah, he was getting death threats.
I
and
thought it
stuff.
was
Yeah.
great. I'm like, oh, I knew it.
They weren't perfectly balanced.
They were.
He set some people off kilter for sure. Yeah.
But at least it was an interesting story. But
Yep.
you know, it felt like okay, we had all of a sudden this turn that Cap's now Hydra Cap,
Yep.
and then Secret Empire came right away. I think what's interesting about this War of the Realms event that's coming up is that it's been basically in the works for like the last, I don't know, like 10, 12 years. So basically this has been a subplot to Jason Aaron, that Jason Aaron has been writing in his Thor series since God of Thunder, which came out I think in 2000.
Can we share the splash page?
Oh yeah,
For
yeah,
the-
of course.
That would be awesome.
We should actually probably put this up as a graphic. Can we do
will
that?
certainly do that.
Can we do that?
We can do that.
Yeah,
actually,
okay, let's do that.
I think so.
We can do so many things here now. This is so cool. Anyway,
We got so many options.
Can't CG your mustache away though.
No, they're gonna make it fuller. They're gonna
No,
build
we're
it.
not going to do what DC did. We're better than that.
They're gonna give me the Fu Manchu. You get real.
you're giving Phil ideas.
We're gonna get real racist with this pretty soon. But anyways, they've been. So Jason Aaron's been teasing this. He's been writing, basically teasing this subplot since God of Thunder, through the Jane Foster Thor run, and in his
Yeah.
current run. Basically, what this is gonna, the War of the Realms is Malekith, the Dark Elf, has been going around. Excuse me.
Sorry,
What'd you say?
it's my boy.
Your boy Malekith, your fellow elf.
I read a whole other series about elves that followed the Dark Prince Malekith, and then realizing it's the same general character, I got pretty excited. Especially when the second Thor came out, and like I hadn't seen anything for it, and then I saw the opening sequence. They talk about
The Dark
Dark
Elves.
Elf and King Malekith, and I'm like, what? It was exciting, and now to see him again, yeah, I'm pretty excited.
So Malekith's been working his way across the Nine Realms.
Yep.
And he's basically slowly throughout all these series been conquering them all. And the final realm that hasn't fallen yet is Midgard.
Yes.
So they're coming to Earth. And we got I mean, if you look at the splash, and I don't know why I closed it, but if you look at this, we got a lot of characters that are going to
Yeah.
be involved in this. There's Luke Cage, She-Hulk,
Basically,
I'm hoping it's not
Wolverine.
false advertising here. I'm hoping this is legit. That all these
There's-
characters are truly in it.
Cap, there's Punisher, there's Spider-Man. I
Yeah.
think Venom was in one of these. Captain Marvel's in here. Iron
Cage.
Man. Iron Man, I think, is going to be, he seems like a natural enemy of
Yeah.
the Dark Elves, right? Because
Yeah.
they don't like iron.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
So, and
Yep.
although he's not really made out of iron.
maybe he'll bring back one of like the old school suits. Like he'll bring back the Melter
Classic
suit.
one just to annoy him.
Yeah. Like,
Gotcha.
I know your weakness.
I know this really triggers you.
Those are the light elves. But yeah, this is going to be a
Yeah.
cool event. It's obviously going to be very big.
Yep.
They've been building this one up, marketing it for 6-7 months now. I mean, we've been knowing
Yep.
this has been coming for a while.
Yep. And it's coming in April, so we don't have too much longer to wait. So
I think we saw Blade in there somewhere too.
it was Blade in there. Well, they are making Blade a more prominent character
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe there'll be a new show in the works for Disney Plus. Anyway,
But that's for a
But
video for another time.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want
Rated R
to.
Marvel movie, Blade.
The first
Yeah,
rated R Marvel
yeah.
movie. So true. Yep. Good call there, production man.
Jason Aaron's writing this, same guy
Yep.
that's been doing all the other Thors. So this is going to be awesome because basically he's been building this up. He's been planning this for just years and years and years and years. So this is going to be a pretty cool event, I think.
This is
All right, excellent.
good stuff. So moving along, I think we're going to go a little bit, even though we're sticking with Marvel, we're going to go out of the superhero universe a little bit here, right?
Going swords and sorcery, but we are staying with Jason Aaron. And we're going to talk about the return of Conan the Barbarian to the Marvel Universe.
Very nice.
Yep. Previously with Dark Horse, and now back with the House of Mouse.
And he's back not with just one series. This is Conan the Barbarian. This is the one that's being written by Jason Aaron. But we also have a second one, The Savage Sword of Conan, being written by Jerry Duggan.
So they're bringing out all the stops. Like they're just going head first into the Conan universe.
They're like, yeah, Conan. I
They
think
say.
the plan is that Conan's going to. There's rumors that he's going to join the Avengers.
They're-
I'm not sure I like that idea. I
I
mean,
like
you already
on
have
occasion
Hercules.
You have Hercules.
having
That's kind of
independent
redundant to me.
characters.
I don't know.
It would make more sense if he was in the Savage Lands.
Yeah.
Khazar. He battles Khazar.
Oh, and Sauron.
Yeah.
That's more of an X-Men thing.
Yeah, kind of is actually.
Um,
But they're actually planning other titles, offshoots, right? So you can have Belit, a Belit title. That's his princess, basically, right? His romantic interests.
I don't know.
No. Okay. This is I only learned
This
this
is your
from reading the.
territory?
Well, I read a lot of the Dark Horse Conan material.
Well, the question
and-
is, how much of that stuff will they bring in? Because a lot of those. I don't know if when Conan came over, whether all those sub characters like Red Sonja, I believe, is still
Yeah.
with Dynamite, right? She's
Sure.
not going to come back in this universe, even though she's
No.
from the Conan universe.
Correct. Yeah. I think some they will bring in because it's actually if it's Howard's material, right? That was purchased, that was brought over. They could have rights to it.
Possibly. It seems with these stories, they're trying to tell new Conan stories.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I
But
don't know.
they'll probably be steeped in the history that with reference to the history that he actually wrote.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I do find the artwork to be quite good.
Yeah, I think
and-
Ron Garney did is doing the Savage Sword.
Yep.
He does excellent work. Really, really cool. It's almost retro, like bringing it back to the old Dark Horse Conan or
Yes.
back to the old I forget when they being printed in those magazine-sized formats. It was either Warren or Harris.
It's a Conan comic should not be pretty. It should be gritty.
Yeah, dark.
It should be a little bit messy.
It should be, yeah, it should be.
And you've got a lot of really cool visuals here. There's a great scene in this book where he's actually picked up by these pirates, and he's actually found drifting in the sea, eating the carcass of a shark,
Yeah, pretty gross.
who presumably tried to eat him
Yeah.
at one point.
Which Conan obviously killed with his bare hands.
Yes, of
It's
course
Conan.
he did.
There's
You know,
some
so-
really gnarly stuff. There was another scene where he was locked. He was basically chained up with some other slaves. He kills one of his captors and then proceeds to rip his fingers off and use his finger bones to pick the lock.
It's brutal.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly.
Very inventive. Very inventive. So
It's brutal.
Yeah, it's pretty
it's
gross.
brutal.
That's good stuff. And
Yep.
I think Savage Sword seems to be more of just a traditional fantasy, swords and sorcery, but they're kind of throwing in a pirates angle. So a lot of
Yep.
just high fantasy stuff. The Barbarian seems to be a bit more of classic Conan, where it's him. He's a barbarian. He's struggling, living between a civilized world and his barbaric nature.
Yes.
And you can feel that the inner struggle. They're both, I think, excellently written. They'll be fun.
Yep. And we were talking about this a little bit before we started shooting, but Savage Sword of Conan seems to be, at least thus far, following a multi-issue story format that's very consistent. It's clearly
Very
one
serialized.
story arc.
Yeah.
Whereas Conan the Barbarian, while it maintains certain elements that tie it together, they seem to be more isolated stories.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. It's seems like they're trying to set it up that they will somehow loosely tie in together. They will tie in together at some point. We just don't see the bigger picture. But they've all been kind of like self-contained stories where you had like Conan as a ruler at one point, and then you have Conan when he's being when he's basically taken by the Picts, the barbarian, the uncivilized tribe.
That's right.
And then in number 3, there was another story. I forget which was that one was about. The hanging tree, the one with the
that's right.
the
Where
gold thieves.
Yes, they try to hang him, and he ends up destroying the tree basically in the process.
And everyone.
And everyone.
But they have been 3
they're-
individual stories.
Yes.
There's been seeming self-contained and not related to each other, except for the fact that there's been this recurring character, the Red Queen,
Yes.
the Queen of.
Yeah, we might have to reference that.
She's the Crimson Witch.
Crimson Witch.
Crimson
yeah.
Witch and her creepy children.
I like the Red Queen reference though. Big Resident Evil fan. So
Oh, okay.
I like that.
Well, I was also doing a
good.
Red Witch thing. I also had Game of Thrones on my mind.
I didn't realize you're a Resident Evil fan.
Oh, I love Resident Evil.
Could we talk about the remake?
Absolutely.
Do that pop culture.
Oh, pop culture.
It's really good.
Yeah, coming soon. So, good stuff though. So, Conan is, like we said, it's brand new, back to Marvel again. It's been how many years? It's probably been since the mid '80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since Marvel has had the title, so it's we're really kind of jonesing to see where they go with it. But
They're obviously going all in with it too. I mean, they're putting
Yeah.
top talent on all these books. The
Yep.
covers, they got Alex Ross doing covers
Yeah.
on Savage.
Yep.
They have Assad Ribic doing the covers on Conan the Barbarian.
Yep.
And it's gorgeous.
that's right.
Quick question about the cover art. How does it compare to the original Frank Frazetta paintings of the Conan character?
You definitely see a lot of the influence, right? The painted influence. More so with the Assad Ribic ones. You can see he uses a lot more of the darker tones, well, even though he's adding in some of the blues in the background. But kind of similar palette, real dark, real painted feeling. Alex Ross obviously does just the Alex Ross thing.
Yes.
Cool.
He's got his shtick. So, yeah. So what do we got next? We can't neglect DC, right?
We're moving into
We
DC.
can try.
We can. We can try.
We can't. There's no avoiding DC. There are a few things, but
You could go take a bio break for this discussion if you like.
yeah. Do you need to?
Step off the stage. No. I want to hear how this plays out because I haven't read these. I believe we're talking about the Batman Who Laughs,
The Batman Who Laughs.
which as a character overall is pretty awesome.
Look at that character design.
Jeez. Wow.
Do you
Talk about nightmare.
Are you familiar with who the backstory of the Batman Who Laughs?
I believe he was a metal character.
Yes, from the Dark Knight's Metal,
Dark Knight's Metal. Yep.
which was DC's big event last year.
Yep, which I started. I didn't finish it for personal reasons. It had nothing to do with my hatred for DC.
No,
but I was satisfied up to when I left off. So how did that conclude?
I think we actually
we
did this.
talk about
I think we did this on
talk
one of
about
our
this? You see how
shows.
well I remember these things?
It ended very abruptly. I think
that's right.
Remember,
That's
it just
right.
like it kind of all just kind of came to an end.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, but at the end, it really didn't seem like it had much weight to that series. Although we've seen the ramifications of
We were
the
left
destruction of the
unfulfilled.
Source Wall.
Right.
Yep.
We've seen it play out in Justice League and Justice League Dark, and now we're seeing it again in this Batman Who Laughs.
All right. So what happens?
So the Batman Who Laughs is, the main antagonist of, well, I guess the second main antagonist after Baphomet. I forget.
Baphomet? Byzantine?
Beelzebub.
No. I think it was something like Byzantine.
Backstreet Boys?
The Backstreet
The
Boys,
Backstreet
the ultimate,
Can we
Oh.
name?
the
Wait,
ultimate
don't
evil.
bring up Backstreet Boys. I might break into song again.
Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet
We could
Boys?
have another left shark, right shark moment. All right, no. All
No.
right,
Look at
I'm
our
gonna resist.
archives.
I'm gonna resist.
So the Batman Who Laughs comes from a dimension where the Batman basically gets poisoned by the Joker toxin
Yep.
Yes.
Just a little
and
bit too much.
becomes Jokerized.
Yes.
So he is possibly the most dangerous version of Batman because he's as smart as Batman, as
Yeah.
calculated as Batman, but he's also as insane as the Joker.
deadly combo for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, any guy who wears
And-
spike goggles, you probably don't want to mess with.
Well, yeah, and as you mentioned, I mean, he is the stuff of nightmares. You know. Oh, we're going over here.
Kind of has like a pinhead / like Mouth of Sauron-esque looking.
Do you guys remember there was Judge Dredd
kinda
had a
like-
character that looked very much like this?
Similar.
There is?
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that actually.
There was a
Not
Judge
at all.
Dredd character that has like a similar spiked collar
Yeah.
around his face. It's the most impractical costume design in the planet, but
He reminds
But
me
who's
of.
gonna mess with him?
yeah, like
Why do you need to see?
No one's gonna say anything to the guy. He's terrifying.
He reminds me of was it during the Civil War storyline, the very first Civil War storyline in Marvel? Was it Speedball, or is it who becomes Pestilence or something? Not Pestilence. Penance.
Yeah.
Penance. Yes, and he kind of had like one of these types of like weird like outfits, and becomes
Like
this.
the 40 belts.
Yeah, the
goes from
le-
like
the
New
leather
Warrior
look.
to like like.
Looks like he belongs in a Final Fantasy game.
Or like Disturbed music video.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of, except for that big Joker smile. So,
So what is he doing?
So he's back. Well, it's like the creative team on this is
Yeah.
Scott Snyder, who did
Yeah.
the New 52 run, which
Yep.
was one of the most celebrated Batman runs in recent history, and the artist Jock, who is also renowned for his work on Batman. So amazing creative team. Basically, Batman Who Laughs, getting all up in Batman's universe and causing problems and causing chaos. He tries to kill the Joker at some point. He's also brought.
yes.
So
But Joker knows about the.
He somehow knows about
So,
it.
which
Well,
is-
because he's part of the Joker that's infected the Batman Who Laughs is that part of the Joker that who knows kind of what's going on.
Right.
Supposedly what's happening. But this
So he
basically
goes-
he's going through different dimensions.
Yep.
And he's just gathering Bruce Waynes from all these different worlds, and I don't
That's
know.
right.
We don't actually know what his plans are for these Bruce Waynes, but they're all being brought into our universe and being murdered.
And the way Batman discovers this is that he's investigating a body trafficking scheme, basically,
Yeah,
where bodies are being shuttled from morgue to wherever to be buried properly, and they're basically just taking the bodies, and stealing them and farming for organs, and that's when they come across this. It's actually Bruce Wayne,
Yeah,
from another dimension, like he's dead.
It's
You
funny,
know?
he's doing the autopsy. He's like, well, he's got a lot of my scars up to a certain point, but it looks like right around the time Bane broke my back, he kind of quit. And look at this. He's got indentation on his ring finger, so looks like he got married. He has a tattoo with the name May, so he probably had a kid. And look, he's got smile lines around his eyes. He might have actually been happy.
Yeah. Yep. So it was kind of interesting, a very curious beginning, and then you've got the assault that comes next is on Joker, as you mentioned, right?
And we
that's,
see another Batman that he brought from another dimension,
the Grim Knight.
the Grim Knight.
Grim Knight.
And the way that the Joker puts it is that the Grim Knight is the Batman that would have happened if Joe Chill had dropped the gun and Bruce Wayne had picked it up. So it's a Batman who's
Trigger happy Batman.
Yeah, he's just Batman Punisher, I guess.
Yeah.
Ton of guns.
Yep.
So we got these two really twisted versions of Batman who've come into Batman's world.
Yep.
They're messing up everything, and Batman has no idea how to fight him. He has no idea because he knows that these guys are just as smart and probably more deadly than he is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Willing to do things he's not willing to do.
Right. So at the end of this last issue that we have,
Yep.
he takes the only step that he thinks.
But before.
Shit, am I getting ahead
So
of ourselves?
we might be getting ahead just because we're leaving out one little thing that we haven't mentioned, and that's
is what?
that Joker actually shows up to and meets with Batman.
Yes. Okay.
And
Because Joker is terrified of this, the Batman Who Laughs as well.
that's right. Yeah.
He does not like
his insanity is not crazy enough to tolerate something that awful. And he basically, Batman has always claims that he doesn't want to kill the Joker because there are toxins
Yes.
in his blood, I assume.
Something that releases when his heart stops beating.
Yes.
And basically infects anyone that's nearby and jokerizes them.
And jokerizes them. So the Joker pulls a fast one, pulls a gun on Batman, and well, tricksy little devil he is, goes to shoot, and it's a gun that shoots in reverse. And he shoots himself. In front of Batman, thereby releasing these toxins and infecting Batman. So, and he has, of course, Batman has all the tools in the utility belt and then some, right? So, of course, he has some.
He's got some antitoxin.
Antitoxins, right?
Not enough.
Not enough, but maybe enough to keep him out of being fully Jokerized.
Yeah, so for a while we see him just constantly pumping himself full of this antitoxin. It's kind of driving him a little batty.
A little bonkers, yep.
I'll be here all week, folks.
I see what you did there.
There are so many puns.
We got to get a jar for this place.
You're putting money in the pun jar when we get back to the shop, Ken.
Oh, that's coming next month. That's going to be right here on this table. So, anyway,
get out a whole bunch of ones.
so now I apologize. I didn't mean to.
No, that's a very good point because this is important because Bruce is basically fighting off this Joker toxin, and then he's fighting it, and then he realizes, oh crap, I can't win this. Not the way I am. And he realizes the only way that he has a chance is to do the thing that they wouldn't expect him to do, and that is to succumb to it and basically become the Joker who laughs.
Yes.
So now there's two of them.
Now there's two of them.
That's right, because Joker's still not dead, by the way.
They
have him on life support or something, right?
Well, he's like, we got Joker who laughs, who's from the old, from his original universe, where he's already kind of destroyed his world, and then gone on and destroyed a ton of other worlds. And now you have Batman, the Batman that we know, the normal Batman, who's now like making the transformation into that, in order to defeat this other evil, but at what cost?
That's right.
And is this actually part of the Joker who laughs master plan? Did he anticipate that Batman would do this?
That remains to be seen. How many issues is this series?
We're 3 issues in.
I think it's only
it's
a limited series.
I think it's a six issue.
Is it? Okay. So we're only halfway through then. So we get a lot of story to tell here, and it's been fun so far. So that's definitely one to pick up.
It's been great, and the cover art's been amazing on these. They've been badass.
Yes, they have.
I'll give it that, yeah.
So with that, I would like to transition maybe into an indie title, although I think this might be something that I think you might have to take full lead on this one.
This is going to be mostly me, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the comic Die. It's by Kieran Gillen, who's
Really?
probably most,
Really?
not the Supergirl.
No.
This is the author who did The Wicked and Divine.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, like, oh, that's interesting.
They have very similar names.
Very similar.
I'm not sure if I pronounced. Yeah, Kieran Gillen.
Gillen?
Yeah, Gillen.
Okay.
I think she's Gillian.
Gillen? Yeah.
I don't know.
It's Gillian. Or
Thank you.
Jillian?
Gillian.
Sorry, Karen Gillian.
Karen Gillian, if you can call in and tell
Just give
us
us
the
a-
proper way to pronounce your name, that would be helpful.
So we don't butcher it like we have been.
She's not watching.
No
No,
chance.
no.
No chance at all.
We're not that big yet.
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 Make a
That's right.
shout out to Jason Momoa.
Soon.
Soon.
Once we get this episode out.
Yeah,
is-
this
Yeah,
is the
exactly.
launching
This is
episode
the
right
turning point. Turning point here. You heard it, folks. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
So we got Die. This is number one. We have 3
Yes.
issues out already.
Yep.
Kieran Gillen and Stephanie Hans. Stephanie Hans, who's most well known for doing her cover art on Marvel. She does the covers and the interiors.
Yep.
She's known for doing like this painted style. It's real
actually kinda
moody.
cool.
It's really nice.
Yep.
She has like really good palette. It's very dark. It's very atmospheric. It's got a good sense of light and
Yeah,
like, real
lovely
atmospheric.
shadows that she
Yeah,
can
wow.
create. Yeah, that's cool.
It's got this real heavy tone to it. The basis of the book is that it's a group of 16-year-old teenagers, and it's one of the they're a bunch of D&D fans, right? They're huge into D&D, and I think this plays great for with our crowd.
Yeah.
These guys are totally into D&D, and then on the main character's 16th birthday, well, his best friend basically comes up with this game of D&D that he says that he's built for everyone. And he gives everyone a die, hence die.
Clever.
Yeah. It's got a double meaning there.
Smart.
He gives everyone a die based on their character.
Yep.
And as soon as they get their die, they basically he gets his 20. He gets 20 because he's the game master.
Sure.
They get transported into a fantasy world. And then all of a sudden, 2 years later, they come back to the real world. Game master, not part of the group. The main character's sister, she's lost an arm. And no one has any idea, no one outside of that group knows what's happened. They've refused to talk about it since they came back, but obviously something traumatic happens.
Yep.
So fast forward a few years later, they've kind of put this all behind them. The friendships have all been kind of shattered due to whatever events. And they start getting these little messages. And the messages are hinting that their Game Master friend, he's not gone, he's still alive, and he's trying to call them all back. And at the end of the first issue, he brings them all back, he somehow is able to bring them all back to this fantasy world, and he's been corrupted by some evil force, and it seems like he's not very happy about his friends leaving him behind.
It's got a little bit of an it feel,
Okay,
elements
okay.
of it.
Are there? About 30
I was
minutes.
gonna
Yeah.
say a bit of a saw feel, like I'd like to play a game with you.
Well-
I guess it kind of has a bit of a Saw thing, because it's
Okay.
a game of high stakes, right? He's like this is going to be the most intense game we ever played.
Yep.
I don't think he ever fully understood how dangerous the game was.
Yep.
He just kind of thinks that it'll be a good laugh for them, but ends up turning really sinister. And the pacing in the book's really good because we're kind of given these hints at what happened in these traumatic events, but it's never actually really shown to us. So we're still in the dark as far as what happened in the past, but at the same time they're in this fantasy realm. They're fighting monsters.
Yep.
They're getting to know the roles that they used to play back in the day. It's kind of like coming back to a D&D campaign after you haven't been playing for a while. It takes a little bit to
Yep.
kind of get back into the role.
How many issues are we in on this series?
We're 3 issues in at this point.
Okay.
It's been getting very solid reviews. I think they're on a 3rd or 4th printing of the first issue already.
Okay.
And it's really cool. I mean, I know a lot of our fans are into role playing
Oh, yeah.
and gaming, and I believe that Kieran Gillen also mentioned that they're developing a actual tabletop version that is kind of like a companion piece to the comic that you'll be able to play.
That's really interesting. Okay.
Because he's a huge, he's also, I don't know if he still is, but at least he was a huge role player.
Okay.
So this is like the passion thing for him.
So that being said, I know a lot of indie titles are,
feel like I can relate
written
to
for
this
like
guy.
a 6-issue story. Oh yeah, he kind of looks like you.
He's even got the man bun.
He does. It's more fun with a bun.
Show your camera, Tyler.
No. If you want to see it, you're going to have to go out there and support Miss Gillen and
$2.
her 2 friends.
So, a
Also,
lot
I'm
of
lazy.
a lot of indies are created with basically it's as a 6-issue story. It seems like that's the format these days because they're writing for graphic novels, right?
Graphic novels
Is-
or potentially pitches for TV series.
Of course, exactly. So, do we know if this is going to be a long-running series, or do we expect this to be one of those, 6 issues and done type things?
I'm expecting this to be an ongoing. I don't believe it was solicited as a mini or a maxi, so I have to assume that they have, and especially considering the pace they're going. So we're 3 issues in, and we're just slowly starting to get reveals of what happened.
Yep.
If this was going to be a 6 or 12 issue, I think we would have seen a lot more exposition by now.
Okay.
It just seems like with the pace that they have and the way that they're revealing everything slowly and kind of building these character relations a bit more organically, that this will be a long-running series.
That's wonderful. All right. Very cool.
Yeah, it's got a really great color palette.
Yeah, this
the
is
art's
fantastic.
The art's killer. It's got really cool high fantasy concepts, role-playing concepts. Anyone that's a D&D fan is gonna absolutely just connect with it.
Yep.
I did totally, and I'm not really a big D&Der.
Okay.
but I wish I was.
So elements of fantasy, elements of horror,
Yeah.
basically. Okay. Well, check it out, guys.
Die.
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 Yes. So Tyler, any other little comic tidbits you want to share with us?
I don't know what you mean. Tidbits. Well, you need to know how to read in order to read them.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Have you been reading anything lately that has really piqued your interest? Deep in thought over here.
He works at the comic shop too.
I do.
In fairness,
Nothing-
he runs more games.
Yeah,
than
I
he
mean,
does
I spend a
comics. He
lot of
does.
my time. Like, I'm
just
reading more
busting.
game manuals than I am comics right now.
That's a good point.
But I aim to change that, especially since I'm on this show. So I should probably read a few comics every now
Been
and
saying
again.
that for about
But
2
I do
years.
keep up with the pop culture. Yeah.
And I
It's
mean,
our running joke.
You read
Yeah,
you,
it's
you
our
read
running
whatever
joke.
we have to for the show.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
do.
version.
I
So-
do.
That's right.
I have a back catalog of comics that I get. It's just like 4 or 5 long
He's still
boxes.
catching up from like episode 5.
We can't wait to
Yeah.
tell
Show.
Tyler that we're going to dedicate a solid 6 months to just DC books.
Oh,
Just-
speaking of just DC books, we should mention that we have a big milestone issue coming
yes.
up next month.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, we got the 1,000th issue of Detective Comics.
That's right.
This is the second issue, second series to get 1,000. We recently
Yep.
had the Action Comics
Action.
1,000.
That's right.
You know, this I think this touches a bit on the legacy numbering thing that we've discussed back when Marvel redid their went back to legacy numbering.
Yep.
Is that it's always odd the way they count, issues.
Yep.
With Detective Comics, it's the 1,000th issue of Detective Comics, but it's not the 1,000th issue of Batman being Detective Comics.
Correct, because it was that was number 27, was
That's
it?
correct.
Detective 27.
So it is the 1,000th issue of Detective Comics, but not the 1,000th Detective Comics Batman comic.
Right.
So are they going to do another one when it hits Batman's 1,000th anniversary?
I think they should actually.
I think they
right?
might.
I mean, it's a good excuse, right? To give us a bunch of prestige formats and make a little bit more money.
Okay,
Right.
Batman
It's
hit
one of their
1,000.
biggest IPs. You know they're going to do it.
They have
They,
to.
I mean,
It would be
the-
criminally insane not to.
if you remember when Action came out,
Yeah.
it was released with like 20 different variant covers.
Yeah.
They're doing the same thing for Detective Comics as well. They have
That's right. A comic cover from every era, right?
yeah,
Like
And-
every decade.
and that's
I
just
believe.
that's I believe like what's DC soliciting. On top of that, they have countless of just like store exclusive variants.
Sure. Yeah.
I did love. I think my favorite of the group of the normal covers was the Detective 27 comic cover homage done by Alex Ross. And if that's the one I'm gonna have my eye on.
Yep.
I don't expect, don't buy this book expecting that it's kind of appreciated in value. Buy it because it's a landmark book.
Yeah.
It's probably going to have a decent, they got a all-star cast of writers and artists that are all going to contribute to it. So, it's going to be a proper, send-up of Batman.
And I think what's great for the fans is that, young or old, wherever your entry point was into reading, Batman books of any kind, you're always going to go back to when you first started. Like that's how my point of reference for any character is like the first book I ever read, and that's the feel. That's what hooked me.
Me too.
And so, to have a set of covers that really covers every single era like that, and kind of recalls that feeling that you had the first time you picked up one of those books, I think that's kind of neat for the fans.
So then real quick, what's your era of Batman? What would you consider your era?
Well, I came a little late to the show for comic book reading. It wasn't until I was in college that I really got into it. And so for me, it was Legend of the Dark Knight.
Oh,
It
nice.
was the very first Batman book I ever read. Issue 1, the yellow cover.
Ah, yes, that's the one that came out with the CMYK covers, right?
Yes, that's correct. And I had, my father who was like excited to get me into a new collection type of thing. I was a big sports card kid. he ended up putting me on a subscriber list, unbeknownst to me. The first time I went in to pick up books, he drove me from school or whatever. We went over to the comic book shop, and the guy had set three of each cover aside for me.
That seems like
I guess
much.
the guy, like, sold my dad on the fact, these things are going to be super expensive.
They're gonna pay for your kids' college someday.
So I had 3 of everything, and but the story was awesome.
Yeah,
Not
worth a lot of money, but yeah,
not worth a lot of money, and yeah, they're you can find them in most of your dollar bins these days,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Sure.
But
Still
the
quality.
story was awesome.
Yep.
And so anyway, but getting back to the point, you're going to have covers that recall, that harken back to that first book you ever picked up.
What about you,
I think
Tyler?
that's awesome.
What do you relate your Batman generation to?
Oh, okay, so if we're talking actual comics, it's a lot more atrocious. But if we're talking like just Batman in general,
Let's talk about both. Let's hear both.
let's start with in general. I started watching the Batman series.
The animated series.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here,
when
man.
I was like 11 or 12 years old. Can't quite remember exactly, but I remember the house. No, actually,
You must have been younger than that.
Must have been like 9.
Because I was like 11 or 12 years old around that time.
I was like 9 years old when I first started watching. I can't remember what Batman series it was. It wasn't the one with the weird like dreadlocks Joker, but like the good Joker. Like
The Mark Hamill Joker.
Yes. I
Your
grew
dad
up.
Joker.
Yeah, my dad Joker. That's right. My dad's Mark Hamill.
Okay.
That's where I started. I watched Batman Beyond, and I followed that pretty much through. I've always been into the DC.
The animated
The
stuff.
animated
yeah.
stuff. I think the animated stuff is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, like the Bruce Timm and Paul Dini stuff is all fantastic.
Yeah, but a lot of it has to do with the voice actors.
Sure.
And how they work the dialogue. And I'm a huge Static fan. Static Shock. When that show came out, like if they made a movie of that, or even if they made a comic, I would love that. But of course, we got a lot of Batman in that show as well. Older Batman, but Batman nevertheless.
Sure.
So that was my frame of reference for Batman when I was younger. The first full Batman comic I ever read, where was the character story was all revolved around Batman, it was a Batman title, was Dark Knight Metals.
Nice. that was literally like 2 years ago.
Actually, Dark Knight Metals.
I'm glad I'm so happy we were able to expand your horizons a little bit.
Yeah. So, and I like this Batman. He looks kind of cool, so maybe I'll read that.
I think you'd like the new 52 Batman. Like, it seems like you dig the Snyder Batman. And
I do.
Yes.
You should go back
The
and read
Court
the
of
new-
Owls is
Yeah.
by far my favorite.
I've heard a lot about the Court of Owls, and I've
Favorite
thought
series.
about going back and reading that.
You dig it. Like, it's good, like Batman, like a horror Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of
Something
like
that's
mystery.
a little bit darker.
Yeah,
than
Yeah.
it's very
Batman.
gothic
Yes.
in nature.
Not so much
Which I love.
broody, but actually like dark.
Yeah. Not like just violent, but yeah, it's got a lot of dark themes.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we have for this month's Comic Shop Talk. We appreciate you bearing with us since we were in a 3-month absence. But we're back. We're going to be back on a monthly schedule. And so next up will be Pop Culture Talk. So stay tuned. And we thank you very much. And until next time.